With 1 week into Election Day tonight, we take a look at Democratic candidate for President Joe Biden and his support of Roe versus Wade throughout the years. Joining us now by Skype is Paul Kengor, author and professor of political science at Grove City College in Grove City, Pennsylvania. Paul, welcome back. Always good to see you. Let's talk about the commentary that you wrote and was published in a National Catholic Register. In it, you focused on the landmark case Planned Parenthood versus Casey, which in part removed the requirement of spousal notification prior to obtaining an abortion. You also mentioned the role that then Delaware Senator Joe Biden played in the case during that time. Let's talk about that and why you felt it was so important to discuss.
Yeah, I've known about this for years, Tracy. So I've known about Joe Biden for years. I've followed Biden for years, going back to the 1980s, late 80s when I was in college. And I happened to read over 10 years ago now at this point, Senator Warren Rudman's memoirs. I'm probably the only person watching this right now who read Senator Rudman's memoirs. But he notes in there about the date June 29th, 1992, this dramatic moment. This is really odd. But he's at the Amtrak station in Wilmington, Delaware, and he looks down and he spots Joe Biden, Senator Biden, and Rudman was from New Hampshire, and he waves to him. And they smile and they wave at one another and they literally run into one another's arms, hugging, embracing, smiling, jumping up and down. And he says, "I told you I was right about David. I told you I was right about David." And Biden says, "Yes, yes." And who's this David that they're talking about, Tracy? It's David Souter, Justice David Souter, who was the crucial swing vote in the Planned Parenthood v. Casey decision in 1992, which preserved Roe v. Wade. And that was the one court case which might possibly have overturned Roe, or at least would have come closer than any other. Tracy, it was a 5-4 decision. It was written by Anthony Kennedy. By the way, these were all Reagan and Bush appointees. Anthony Kennedy, who wrote the so-called mystery clause in that decision, Sandra Day O'Connor, and Souter. And so Souter was a swing vote. It was a 5-4 vote. And so that changed it. And very, very important to note here, Biden's role in this, Biden was the head of the Senate Judiciary Committee. And they had shot down Robert Bork. They had given Clarence Thomas a really hard time. Well, Biden shepherded through the Souter nomination. George H.W. Bush had nominated Souter. And people weren't sure how Souter was going to vote, if he was pro-life, if he was pro-choice. And Rudman assured Biden privately, hey, he's okay. He's one of us. And Biden pushed him through the committee 14-3. Now, I say that now, a week after the Senate Judiciary Committee, not a single Democrat voted for Amy Coney Barrett in committee or on the floor. And in fact, Souter went to the floor of the Senate and was voted 90-9 overwhelmingly. And so that's why Biden and Rudman were so ecstatic, literally hugging and embracing that day, June 29th, 1992, because they had saved Roe versus Wade. And I want people to know about that. I want people to know about that encounter. Not many people do.
Paul, we don't have a lot of time, but I do want to talk about the impact that case, the decision of that case, has had.
Yeah, so I mean that was the case above all. I mean, if you had gotten, let's say an Amy Coney Barrett or somebody like that in that position instead of David Souter, it would have went 5-4 the other way. In fact, my good friend Bill Clark, I was his biographer, and he was Reagan's closest advisor. He almost got the seat that went to Sandra Day O'Connor. Had he taken that seat, it probably would have went 6-3. It was named for Casey, who was Governor Casey of Pennsylvania, really one of the last major pro-life Democrats in the country. So that was a landmark decision. It was no question about it. And it's really fair to say that Joe Biden helped ensure that.
Paul, in your opinion, what's at stake here in this election for Catholics and Americans as a whole?
Well, the court is paramount. And having finally gotten a majority, arguably a pro-life majority on the Supreme Court, that may not overturn Roe versus Wade, but at least would lead to some victories, Tracy, for groups like Little Sisters of the Poor, Hobby Lobby, the Conestoga Woods case, the Bladensburg Cross case, some of these crucial cases. And so if that is lost, and above all, lost by a candidate who wants to pack the court, I mean, I'm genuinely surprised and shocked that Joe Biden seems to possibly support that, or at the least refuses to reject it. So if all of that is lost by a new president who packs the court and suddenly adds 3 or 4 seats, 3 or 4 David Souter, 3 or 4 Ruth Bader Ginsburgs, but you would suddenly lose all the momentum, all the hard work gained the last 20 to 30 years to make this what is now finally, quite possibly, barely a majority pro-life Supreme Court.
Well, Paul, thanks so much for your time. We got to leave it right there. Paul Kengor, author and professor of political science at Grove City College in Grove City, Pennsylvania. Always good to see you, Paul.
Thanks, Tracy.